Is being recorded and broadcast by Tyngsborough Media. The meeting is available through our cable access channels on Comcast and Verizon Fios, and is a live stream on our website, www.tyngsboroughma.gov. A recording of this meeting will be available through our video on demand portion of our website. Open meeting laws require that any member of the audience who intends on recording either video or audio so declare that now. Seeing none. After instruction from the State Fire Marshal and the Tyngsborough Fire Chief, in the event of an emergency, there's an exit directly across from me to the rear of the room and one to my left. I would ask now all that are able to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I will ask for board introductions. Let us start from my right tonight.
Good evening, Sean Walsh, Assistant Town Manager.
Good evening, Colin Loisel, Town Manager.
Good evening, Eric Eldridge.
Good evening, Jackie Gilfus.
Good evening, Ron Cohane.
Good evening, Adele Coughlin.
Hello, Jacqueline Schnackertz, Executive Assistant.
Thank you. Okay. Are we ready, Select Person Eldridge?
Yes.
Item number 2, meeting minutes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the regular session meeting minutes for October 6th, 2025.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries 5-0-0.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve but not release the executive session meeting minutes for October 6th, 2025.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries 5-0-0 also. On a roll, sir. Okay, citizen and business time. If there are any citizens that wish to address the board, come up to the podium, come up to the table, feel free to say what you want. No? Okay. We will move right on to item number 4. Town Manager's report. Do you want to hold that off?
We can do the public hearings first.
We will do that then. All right. So we're going to continue our public hearing that we started at our last meeting for the special permit for Drake Water Supply District on 166 Frost Road, the PFAS treatment facility.
We don't need to read it.
Nope,
The meeting is still
open. The
open.
meeting
Yep.
was open since last time. Did you want to introduce yourselves?
Yep. Good evening. I am Lou Sirocco with Ty and Bond.
Mary Danielson, also with Ty and Bond.
I'm the overall project director for the project. Mary is the project manager. I think we've received peer review comments. We've provided responses to those. It's our understanding that those were acceptable to the peer review. I guess turn it back to you guys. Do you want us to walk through any of the plans? How do you want to proceed?
Well, let me turn it over to the members here and see if anybody has further questions, or unless you have any comments, Ms. Loisel?
I can just turn over to Jackie to give a quick high-level overview.
Please.
So as from last time, included in your packet is an application from the Drake Water Supply District for a special permit under section 2.11.30 on the table of uses of the Tyngsborough zoning bylaws to expand the existing water treatment plant facility as indicated in the previous special permit at 166 Frost Road. The zoning bylaws permit a public or private utility in the R1 zone only with a special permit. And answer any questions the board may have. The hearing was advertised in the Lowell Sun on Monday, September 22nd and Monday, September 29th, and abutters notices were sent out by certified mail to all the abutters as required under the Board of Selectmen rules and regulations for special permits. Requests for comments were sent to all departments with jurisdiction and no adverse comments were received. Conservation agent Emily Bursch noted that the Conservation Commission must approve and issue a major stormwater management permit, and this information was forwarded to the applicant. Your packet includes the application, relevant plans, and supplemental materials. At the bequest of the town, the project has been sent for review to the civil engineering consulting firm of TEC and any questions have been answered by the applicant at this point.
Okay, thank you. Are there any people in the town that want to ask questions that haven't already been asked of the folks that are up here? Okay, no, so I will turn it over to Select Person Eldridge. Do you have any further questions?
I get to start.
You do.
Okay. Well, so I know the information. However, I don't know that the residents at home are fully understanding of exactly what's happening. So, one, this is for an existing treatment facility. And when we did that treatment facility, we knew that this was going to happen, or likely to happen, because of PFAS. Could you explain what PFAS is and why we need to remove it from the water, and what the plans are? So I'll kind of open it up and leave it free form for you.
Do you want to start, or do you want me?
You can start with what is PFAS and.
So PFAS, it's a acronym used to describe a family of compounds, perfluorinated compounds. There's probably, the list keeps going on, but something over 5,000, maybe even up to 10,000 different compounds in that list. Back in 2020, Massachusetts implemented their own maximum contaminant levels for PFAS. They call it the PFAS 6. There was 6 specific compounds that they were targeting and looking at, and that could not, some of those could not exceed 20 parts per trillion. So at the time of the existing treatment plant, we were not in exceedance of those regulations. Since the treatment plant was constructed, the federal EPA has issued their own MCL for this, and part of that MCL is bringing 2 individual compounds, PFOA and PFOS, down to 4 parts per trillion, so a much lower level. So now we have a defined timeline in order to, bring the treatment plant into compliance. So they've indicated what that will be, and they've given us, everyone time to implement the necessary treatment processes to deal with this. So now the newer lower limits are going to be out there. The plant won't be in compliance by the deadline without further treatment. So what this process does is maintains the existing treatment system exactly as it is. It functions as a pre-treatment step and would have been required regardless of knowing this was going to be a required treatment component or not. So all we're going to do is tack on an additional filtration process at the end to further treat and polish the finished water before it goes into the distribution system.
Yeah, in our previous water treatment plant project, as indicated in that permit filing, this was an anticipated regulation at that time. We did include provisions at that time to make this as seamless as possible in terms of providing piping in and out of this building under the driveway and leaving this area kind of reserved for this future treatment facility. So, hoping to minimize further impacts to the previously constructed and completed portion of the site and try to keep the current impacts to the front side of the site where it is somewhat cleared from the previous project, but we'll have some additional work, obviously, for the current phase of the project. So this will include a new building with those filters. We are currently conducting studies to figure out what type of media, so that'll be finalized prior to construction, but would all fit within the same building footprint and filter sizes. So it's being designed for a couple types of media for flexibility for the district. We also have the stormwater systems included in the proposed design, which has been reviewed at this point, and some associated, just driveway and setup for loading this media into the filter system. So that's kind of the gist of the new site, tying into existing septic on that site, which has been coordinated with Board of Health and their peer review as well. So they're on board with this approach to use the existing septic and just tie in the new building with its own septic tank.
When we last did this, concerns from the residents were around the size of the building, and there's probably multiple pieces, but let's start with the building itself. Is the size of this new building consistent with the size of the existing building?
Yes, we're modeling the proposed building, the new building, to match almost identically to the existing one. We're going to use the same exterior block, same color, same type, and then the building will also have the same height, match that height as well. So it should look like it matches and was part of the plan from the beginning.
And what about like noise and things along that line? Are we expecting additional noise as a result of the treatment as part of this process, or is it consistent with what is already there?
Yeah, I would say the additional noise will be limited probably to the construction activities when it's being built, but after that, noise levels will return to as they are today. There's no additional major equipment or motors that go into this new filter system. It's kind of a passive system. It'll be actually fairly quiet inside that building itself as water just passes through these large filter vessels. We will have one pump in that, but it's only used during media loading process, which we're targeting to be less frequent than annually.
So it'll be limited to new heating, dehumidifier in that building. We will be feeding from the existing on-site generator, so there's not a second generator going on site, so that will all remain as is. And then, as Lou mentioned, all the treatment process itself is no additional noise.
And then when we talk about media replacement, how often is that going to happen, and are we expecting lots of trucks and traffic? What are we anticipating relative to that?
Right, the loading and swap out process, usually what we do is we'll have the contractor rent a couple of temporary frac tanks. They'll be parked right next to the building. We'll use that to pump water from after the vehicle that is delivering the media shows up, and we transfer it into the filter vessels. They just need to go through a backwash process. That's going to be backwashed to these frac tanks. All that's going to be hauled off-site. None of it's going to be kept or processed on-site. So we're keeping all of those processes just as transportable off-site. So at most, we'd have 3 frac tanks for a couple of days, week at tops.
And how often? Is that something that happens every week, every month? How many times per year?
Right, yeah, we're targeting, we're doing the pilot test now to see how long we can last with the given media. Based on the preliminary results, it's looking like we're gonna be able to keep it, do it most annually, but hopefully it stretches longer than that. In similar communities where we've done the same pilot testing, same filter media, we've seen that the full-scale performance is matching and exceeding, in some cases, some of those pilot testing results. So I think we've got one of our earlier PFAS filtration systems went online at the end of 2023. They still have not done a media swap out, and they have higher levels.
One last question. Did you want to explain what the impact is of not treating for PFAS? Like, what's the harmful effects to residents in the drinking water relative to these compounds?
Yeah, it's a health concern that is the reason why they've instituted these MCLs. The research has shown that it has helped to weaken immune systems, potentially cancer-causing, a variety of negative health impacts.
Yeah, they do not break down naturally in the environment, so better to take it out at the source. But I would like to reiterate that we are under the current drinking water regulation, so, you know, it is safe to drink, but this is a new science, if you will, an emerging contaminant, so we're seeking for those lower limits from EPA.
It bioaccumulates, right? So it'll build up. So it's more of a duration as well. So that's why they've they're looking at, all right, well, we need to bring those levels down if we're going to be drinking water our entire lives.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll let everybody go now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do anticipate that we will keep drinking water for the rest of our lives. That was a good point. Could you describe, you're using the term media being loaded. Could you describe what that means?
Yeah, so media in general, when we're using it in this term, is the particulates or the actual physical particles that do the treatment that are going into a filter vessel. So those are collecting the PFAS, if you will, hooking onto it and taking it out of the drinking water. So that's what it means in this terminology, and what we mean when we say load is physically putting it into these large filter vessels in the building.
Thank you. Yeah, I think one thing that is a real treat about being on the select board is learning about so many things that I did not know about before. So certainly reading all of the materials in the application and everything that was provided, I think it's very clear why you're doing this and why it's needed and what your plans are. It feels like you've been very thoughtful. I really appreciate that the building is going to be modeled very similarly as the current one, so I think that this is going to be as least intrusive as possible for our residents. Forgive a question that's probably loaded, but knowing that I don't know what I don't know about this industry, what are things that residents would be concerned about this change, and or things that you hear from other towns or communities that we should just take into consideration?
Well, we're looking at the variety of different medias that could go in there, but the one that predominantly gets selected for a variety of reasons, granular activated carbon, tends to be the media of choice, usually because it's quite effective, but then when you look at the life cycle cost, it actually minimizes your costs down low. There are medias that will last longer, but they cost a lot more, so you have to run those analyses. But one of the reasons why GAC doesn't last quite as long is it takes out a variety of things. It's kind of like a general treatment tool. So things that we might not even be looking at or sampling for have a good chance of also being absorbed by this media at the same time. So there's a side benefit for unintended treatment that we're not necessarily tracking, but it would also help those potentially.
Good. You asked so many good questions. You stole all the good stuff. All right, come back to me. Thank you.
I know the first time you were here, the residents were concerned about odors, so can you talk about, with the new building, anything change?
No, so I do want to, I guess, give an update on that original backwashing of the filters that are currently in place. We've been very fortunate to be able to recycle our backwash. So when the filters get too dirty, if you will, we backwash, so reverse flow to clean them, and then that goes into a holding tank. We've been able to settle that and repump a lot of that water, which has minimized the amount of disposal needed on site. So we've been able to drastically reduce that original estimate of how much we were going to be disposing on site. The new facility won't have any of that on-site disposal. As Lou mentioned, that'll all go into temporary tanks, which will be taken off-site. So when we're talking about the media collecting all the PFAS, that's getting backwashed, collected in tanks, and removed from the site. So no new on-site disposal or anything of that nature. So as far as we are aware, odor has not been a concern, and especially since we've been able to minimize that on-site disposal, that's helped out a lot too.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Select Person Coughlin.
Yeah, the PFAS treatment facility, is that only for the Tyngsborough residents who are receiving their water from Drake It, correct? Or?
It is for all Drake It water customers, but from your perspective for customers in Tyngsborough, this treatment plant is providing for Tyngsborough customers served by Drake It Water Department.
Got it, all right, thanks. And all the other questions were.
And I just have one final question. So will the Tyngsborough customers of the Drake Water Supply District see any cost increase as a result of this new filtration system? Do you know?
That would be, we are talking about rate increase because with.
Could you come forward to the mic
Yeah,
so we
yeah,
can hear,
here.
so they can hear you on TV?
Yeah.
Yes, and right now, we borrow and money from state. And previous insurance plan cost the district $20 million. And with the PFAS, we borrow a lot of $15 million. This money had to be paid back to state. So we be able to, and with current water rate, we can cover the first borrowing, but the second one, we need to increase the water rate to be able to maintain our current operation and plus and the future operation too. So we are talking about internally about rate increase or in different format like create an account for payback, debt service payback, that kind of thing. We do the calculation, basically, I couldn't tell you a number right now. Roughly will be quarterly $30 per customer and to $50 per customer quarterly.
So $30 to $50 per
Yeah,
quarter?
yeah.
Okay, all right, I mean, it's a range. I know it's, you can't, I don't want to pin you to an exact number, but at
Because
least
we need
know
to
it.
do more study, yes.
Good.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, because it is state funded, we are waiting to hear the exact, logistics of any type of loan forgiveness or, lower interest rates. So
Yeah.
that's all determined at the time of, closing on the loan. So there will be some sort of benefit due to that state funding, but we just can't say the exact numbers right now.
All right, thank you. I have no further questions. This, you think of anything else?
I did.
Okay, I knew it. So you're-
I need a second round. Yeah, just thinking about that last question, this is really nothing that you can solve for, but I think it's unfortunate that this is a federal regulation that you need to comply with, and there isn't funding available to offset that. So I think it's a shame that that's going to be handed to customers, but I think that's sort of it is what it is. I trust that you are advocating for that. That's your industry. So the other question that I have is, knowing that the last time you were here and you were building, you had this anticipation that this was going to be needed. Is there anything on the horizon that you anticipate? I know you can't tell the future, but anything that you're seeing that you might need to come back in a couple of years and add to?
Yeah, so one of the reasons why we kind of foresaw this potentially being needed is we knew the federal government was looking at PFAS specifically. So they have a program that runs on a revolving cycle that's the unregulated contaminant, I'm forgetting the acronym, but they're looking into new things that they might want to regulate on a regular basis. So that list is always in some form of either districts or towns are sampling for it to see whether or not it's there, and then they determine whether or not it's feasible to implement the regulation, or how widespread is this problem really? Is it even worth doing legislation for? So on that list, it's a bunch more PFAS, like different compounds that are in that same family. So this process would most likely be beneficial to that. But then there's some other things like lithium, a couple other things that are out there. So none of those other things that are out there have shown up on any water quality reports that we've seen. So we don't think there's anything else on the horizon at this point.
And as Lou mentioned, one of the benefits of what's likely to be our media GAC is it does cover other types of contaminants as well. So it's a little bit of a catch-all there. Obviously not everything, but catches a lot of things. So that's an extra reassurance, I guess, for us.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like you've done the work that you could do. And so the things that have been considered, I think, cover where we're at. You can't tell the future. You might be back, but we'll be here. So all good. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, thank you.
Just to add on to that, so this issue with PFAS, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm an IT guy, but this is not specific to the United States, number one. This is a worldwide problem. Two, in the industry, a lot of people say, you know, today's advances are tomorrow's cleanup. And so if you think about PFAS and a lot of that, so this might be for things like your cookware, nonstick cookware. The big one is fire retardant sprays that they use at the airport. So airports have a lot of these issues. At the time that we did it, when we had those things, they were a great thing. They were advances. The downside is you find out 20, 30, 40 years down the line. So the hard part is knowing what's coming next, but the reality is that our drinking water is, you know, one of the most precious resources that we have. So it's hard to know what will be coming, but we know there will be something coming. And so, you know, there's different technologies that constantly do. So while the federal government sometimes puts unfunded mandates, this one is needed. Unfortunately,
I want the water clean.
yeah, the water. This is one of those things that, you know, it's not a nice to have. This is something that we must do.
And
Everybody
unlike the first treatment system where we were treating for excess of naturally occurring things, PFAS is completely man-made. It's not naturally occurring. So that's part of why we're here. And to go back to an earlier question about, you know, federal government kicking in funding, the district, you know, they signed up for the class action lawsuit to sign on to that to hopefully help bring some of these costs down as well.
Very good.
No further questions.
Okay. Are we ready to close the public meeting?
I am, if you are.
I am ready, sir.
Mr. Chair, I move that the Select Board close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Do we want to do this by roll call vote?
I don't think we need to.
No? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries 500. The public meeting is now closed.
For the next one. Hang on. Next one. Okay, hang on. Any further discussion?
You can go back. While we're- yeah.
Thank you very much.
We have to vote, but you are done.
I didn't see anything with a motion on it.
Here it is.
Special permit motions are bizarre. You have to list the findings. Before you make a motion, though, and if you deliberate, this is the opportunity if the board has any specific conditions it wants to impose.
Yes.
In the past, you imposed conditions based on the public feedback. There was no public feedback tonight. So in the motion that's prepared for you in the packet, we just have the boilerplate conditions, which is obviously that they have to obtain all required building and electrical permits, pass all required inspections, and comply with other areas by federal, state, or local law. As with every special permit, we require that if a change of ownership occurs, they come back to the select board for permission. And then this is just a standard one that if you fail to comply with any of those two conditions, the special permit is revoked. I didn't hear any lingering concerns, so I don't have any other conditions drafted, but this would be where you would do it.
Did you want to ask? I don't have any items that
Okay.
fall into that category, but I don't know if anybody else does.
Select Person Gilpin, any further items that you wanted to add?
No, Mr. Chair, all set.
Select
All set.
Person?
All set.
All set. We are all set on that.
All right, so you ready for me?
I am ready for you, sir.
All right, Mr. Chair, I move that following a public hearing, the Select Board finds that, one, the grant of the special permit is in harmony with the purpose and intent of the zoning bylaws as the use sought is an allowed use. Two, the grant of the special permit will not be detrimental or injurious to the neighborhood in which it is to take place and will not detrimentally impact noise, traffic, drainage, lighting, or public safety. Three, the grant of the special permit is appropriate for the site in question as the use is compliant with town zoning bylaws. Four, the grant of the special permit complies with all applicable requirements of the zoning bylaws. Five, the special permit application was complete and compliant with section 2.11.30, Table of Permitted Uses, 2.11.44, Business Uses, 1.16.14, Mandatory Findings of Special Permit Granting Authority, and 1.16.15, Special Permit Conditions of the Zoning Bylaws. 6, the grant of the special permit is based upon mandatory findings which were found to exist with the requirements of section 1.16.14 of the zoning bylaws. 7, the proposed uses are allowed by section 2.11.30 of the zoning bylaws, and that based on these findings, the select board grant a special permit as requested with the following conditions. 1, the applicant must obtain all required building and electrical permits and pass all required inspections and comply with any other areas required by federal, state, or local laws and regulations. 2, a change in ownership and transfer of the special permit will require approval of the select board. 3, failure to comply with all conditions shall be deemed cause to revoke or modify this decision.
Can you read that again? I have a motion.
Do I want a second? Second.
Second, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
While we're in public hearing mode, let's do the other public hearing tonight. Item number 6 is the public hearing for weekday and Sunday entertainment license application for Augusta's 440 Middlesex Road.
Mr. Chair, as you may recall, Chicken Bites, Inc., doing business as Augusta's, came before this board approximately a month ago and was issued a common vic license to open a sandwich shop at 440 Middlesex Road in the former Mr. Max location. In preparing for the grand opening, they have applied for a new weekday and Sunday entertainment license for entertainment including piped-in music, a television, radio, stereo, and additionally a DJ is requested for weekdays only. Their application is complete and the appropriate fees have been paid. The hearing was advertised in the Lowell Sun on October 6th and October 13th. The applicant mailed the butters notifications by certified mail on October 3rd, and we requested feedback from any department having jurisdiction over this type of request, and none had any adverse comments. The Board of Health noted they have a plan review scheduled and will need to do inspections prior to opening.
You want to open the public meeting?
I would love to. I move that the select board open the public hearing and waive the reading of the hearing notice and the legal ad.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor of opening the public meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries 5-0. The public meeting is now open. Does anybody have any comments or concerns concerning this entertainment license application? Turn it over to, do you have any questions from the board members?
No, since we have the applicant here, could you explain exactly what you're thinking about relative to this? This is an opportunity for you to let people know.
Yep, so thank you, Select Board, for having us in today. So we did file the application. Our plan is to have TVs in the space and piped music for background music, and we have been working with 98.5 The Sports Hub, starting commercial advertisement with them. They just did a food review on TV, did a on-camera drop, and then they're also going to be doing a one-day on-site visit. We're thinking 11 to 3, 11 to 4, where they're going to bring swag and hand out stuff to patrons that come in, along with us giving out hats, T-shirts, and things of that nature.
No questions?
Like Person Gilfus.
How soon are you opening?
We are crazy busy right now. We are targeting the first or second week in November. So we just are in the process. Joe is there all day today painting. We're in the final, home stretch of closing this out. We've got tile work being done in the kitchen, and then all of our equipment's getting dropped in the next week or so. And then we will start organizing, cleaning, and getting ready for open, but we're really targeting that first week in November.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing photos in the e-newsletter about the progress. It looks great so far. So
Thank you.
yeah, I'm thrilled.
We are as well. We appreciate it.
Coming along.
Good.
Select Person Cohen.
No questions?
Select Person Coughlin.
No,
And I have no further questions either. All right. Mr. Eldridge.
Do you want me to close the public hearing?
Yes, please.
Mr. Chair, I move that the select board close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries 5-0. Mr. Eldridge, did you want to make a motion?
Sure. I move that the Select Board approve the application for a weekday and Sunday entertainment license for a television and radio/stereo to Chicken Bites, Inc., DBA Augustus at 440 Middlesex Road as presented.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, can you also add in
The DJ?
the DJ, please? Yes, I'm sorry.
So I will redo the motion.
Thank you.
I move that the Select Board approve the application for a weekday and Sunday entertainment licenses for television, radio/stereo, and DJ for weekdays to Chicken Bites, Inc., DBA Augustus at 440 Middlesex Road as presented. Is that good?
Second, but I have a question.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
This is a procedural question. The DJ being added for weekdays, is that included within this type of license?
Yes, yes. So it's a live performance entertainment. If they had it on Sundays, it would be different and a different fee associated with that. So because it's only weekdays, there's one fee that's separate. They just won't be able to have a DJ on a Sunday.
A Sunday.
And if I may add a little bit of clarification, this is not a Tyngsborough thing. The state of Massachusetts, much to many of your surprise, has incredibly bizarre laws,
Sundays.
including the entertainment laws, which have a wild history. But in Massachusetts, if you have this type of entertainment on a Sunday, it's treated much more monumental. So it's not a Tyngsborough specific regulation. I just wanted to make sure people knew it was the state.
And so you won't need entertainment on Sunday in that capacity?
No, we just filed this so that we could have the audio and TV, and we knew that this one event was planned.
Okay.
So we figured we'd roll it all into one.
Further discussion?
Massachusetts. Thank you.
No? No further discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries 500. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate
Thank you, good luck.
See you soon.
Looking forward to seeing you too. Mr. Chair, might I suggest we did invite people who applied to join the Fire Station Building Committee, as well as we have somebody who applied to join the Commission on Disability.
Yes.
I'm fine with delaying my town manager's report to after, so that these, although I'm sure they all want to stay and listen to my town manager's report, it is a Monday night, so if you want to take the appointments out of order.
We can certainly do that.
And disability would go a lot quicker. You do that one first.
Well, why don't we do item 7F4, Commission on Disability with Margaret McDowell? Or do you prefer Meg?
Good evening, members. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chair, if I may, before you turn things over, just have a quick memo for you. We are pleased to inform you that Ms. Margaret Meg McDowell has submitted a letter of interest to serve on the Commission on Disability. At present, there are 2 vacancies on the commission, and we are also coordinating with the school department to fill a student liaison position. Ms. McDowell has expressed a strong interest in contributing to the commission's work by increasing community awareness of the challenges faced by individuals living with disabilities. She has been a frequent attendee at commission meetings this summer and is currently participating in actually just finished the Civic Leadership Academy, and is eager to assist residents and support initiatives that promote inclusion and accessibility within our community. As you know, she is here with us tonight.
Thank you. Take a couple of minutes and introduce yourselves.
All right. I go by Meg. I'm a 28-and-a-half-year resident of Tyngsborough. I seek to rectify my previous lack of participation in the community, and wanted to, take the civics leadership class prior to entering on any commission. Indeed, I'm excited and hope to be confirmed.
Thank you. We're very excited that you're willing to offer your services. I will turn it over to Mr. Eldridge. Do you have any comments or questions?
I have no questions. I appreciate you, one, stepping up to volunteer. This is fantastic. And I think it's fantastic that you're in the Civic Leadership Academy as well. So I think she'll make an excellent contributor to the Commission on Disability.
Thank you. Person Gilfus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Meg, I'm delighted that you're stepping up to do this, and I appreciate your framing about rectifying your lack of participation, but I want to assure you that whenever you show up is the right time. So thank you for being involved. Thank you for being engaged. And I think this is going to be wonderful for you and the community. Thank you.
Select Person Cohen.
I've known Meg for a while. She volunteers an awful lot, and we appreciate that. And, thank you for stepping up. Commission on Disability, that's one of the commissions I think that started when I first started here, and, they've done great work, and I'm glad that somebody else has stepped up to continue that work. Thank you.
Select Person Coughlin.
It's wonderful to meet you, and thank you very much for your stepping up in this, and good luck.
Thank you. I have no further questions, but I echo what everyone else said. So thank you for stepping up. Thank you for volunteering. We can always use people that want to help the community. So thank you.
And thank you all.
I'm ready.
You are ready, sir.
Mr. Chair, I move that the Select Board appoint Margaret McDowell as a member of the Commission on Disability, effective immediately through June 30th, 2028.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries 500. Congratulations and thank you again.
Congratulations.
Thank you all very much.
Your first appointment. This is a big deal.
It is a very big deal. I take this quite seriously and hope to do some good work.
Thanks, Meg.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next item will be, next item will be appointments to the Fire Station Building Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At your last meeting, as this board is aware, you established the Fire Station Building Committee. You adopted its charge. Since that vote, and in accordance with the charge that you adopted, I've appointed all of the staff positions, and the Finance Committee met last Wednesday and appointed Philip Carignan to be their representative. The remaining positions to be filled is for the Select Board to appoint one of its members to be on the committee, and then also to appoint 2 residents at large. To that end, our office advertised that we were seeking applications from residents to serve on the Fire Station Building Committee on Tuesday, October 7th, and the deadline to submit a letter of interest was Thursday, October 6th, 2025 at 4 p.m. During that window, we received 9 applications. All of them are included in your packet this evening. Most of them represent people who are first-time applicants to serve on boards and committees. A handful of them, in addition to Meg, are either just completed or are prior participants of the Civic Leadership Academy. And at the chair's request on Thursday, we notified anyone that applied that they could join the Select Board tonight to briefly introduce themselves. Again, the board has had the applications since Thursday. They're available in the Select Board's packet. And at the conclusion of your meeting the candidates and deliberation, I'd be seeking you to appoint 2 residents to serve. The term, as dictated by the charge, is until the completion of the project. So that would continue until either the project is stopped for whatever reason or the fire station is built.
Okay, thank you. Are any of the people that are seeking to be put on this committee here tonight? We take turns and have you come up and introduce yourselves. Would that be okay? You can stand, sit, do whatever you want.
Okay. Hi. My name is Karen Wolf, and I'm a resident of the town of Tyngsborough. And for a bit, I've been a member of the media department. And I also am on the Commission on Disability. And about, I'd say 4 years ago, Colin was assistant manager at that time. We got a big ADA review of all town buildings at that time. It shocked me because what was on there was the First Parish Church. The First Parish Church was just remodeled, yet they found all this, that was not with ADA codes or up to standards. And I just would like to see the fire station not go through, having things like when the ADA comes that they find all this other stuff, that we should have done. So I'm looking for a fire station that's accessible for all, that it's comfortable for all the fire personnel, and it's a fire station that's done right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Darrell Wickens, currently a member of the Sewer Commission, and I've served on several boards in the past 15 or so years, Planning Board, the CPC, most notably Finance Committee, and currently on the Sewer Commission, as I say. I've got a little extra time on my hands. I've got some history with building projects. I've done 3 sports centers, fairly large projects, and have been very involved because, as I say to the general contractors, nobody watches my wallet better than I do. So I was on the ambulance study committee as well, and I think if I meet the criteria, I think quite honestly, if there's newcomers that want to join their time, you certainly can pass my historical stuff up. I would like to see more people. I think it should be a bylaw that you must spend some time doing that and seeing what it's like and being participate. But if that's something that I can participate, I will come to the meeting. So I'll either be on one side of the table either way, because I want to make sure we get a Class A fire station at the best cost to the residents. And as I get older, my kids are taking more of the work from me and basically booting me out. The card key works every day, but you never know when that's going to end. So thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. They're not putting you out, they're promoting you.
Good evening, folks. My name's Ed McLean, 25-year resident of Tyngsborough over on Colburn Road. I'm a retired 34-year firefighter and just went through a process in the department that I worked at where we built a Station 2, and I was heavily involved in the process. I think I'm a very fiscal conservative, but my number one goal would to be a sustainable building for a long-term and a safe work environment for the firefighters.
Thank you. Hi. Okay.
Hi, I'm Heather Murphy. I've lived here for 11 years now. I am a recent graduate of the Civic Leadership Academy, which was really great. And it did give me the impetus to look into committees and see what would be a viable opportunity for me. We had a chance to walk through the fire department through that process, and it was very eye-opening and disappointing, honestly, to see how much Band-Aid work had been done by the folks that work in the fire department and as EMS folks for our town. So when this opportunity came across me, I thought this is something that's really important for our town, and I really would like to be involved. My background, from a corporate perspective, I no longer am in my corporate role. I've actually, quote unquote, retired. COVID gave me the opportunity to step away from corporate, which was a nice change for me. But I have about 15 years in project management work, process improvement, efficiencies, managing big budgets. $30 million was one of my budgets for vendor management for a very large biotech firm. Stakeholder, keeping accountable, making sure we're staying on budget for our projects, and doing a lot of the chasing after folks to get their things done and the accountability process. I think it could be very helpful from that perspective. And again, I'm glad that this opportunity came in front of me, and I hope to have the opportunity to participate on this committee. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Board.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you. My name is Paul Alicata. My wife and I live on Foxhunt, which is off Norris. We've been here for about 5 years. Just like Heather and Meg, I'm a recent grad of the Civil Leadership Academy. It was a fantastic program, and just like Heather mentioned, very eye-opening through all the departments. What struck me was the fire department, and as Heather mentioned as well, all the Band-Aids, like all the extra mile that they went to like build bunks and like plywood for the chief's office, all these things, right? So the Civil Academy really, gave me the push to serve and try to help my community, even though it's a newer community for myself. In regards to my background, I am a project manager by trade, 14 plus years in the health IT space. I really wanted to, take this opportunity to see how a project is run on the construction side. I am, very well versed at running projects, with my experience, working across all sorts of teams. There's a saying in project management that we herd cats, and that's totally true, because that's basically what we do. So I just wanted to, throw my name in there and, help with something that's important for the town. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I think that's everyone, right? Okay. My machine went dark.
We got technical difficulties here, folks. Please bear with us.
Mine too.
Too enthralled in listening.
That's why I touch my screen every once in a while to keep it going.
Well, I was so focused on
Enamored?
listening. Enamored was
Yeah.
a great word.
Focused.
Okay. I don't know.
I can read you if you'd like anything, if you'd like to describe how you'd like the process to go.
Well, what I would like to do is open it up to the board for any deliberation. So, Mr. Eldridge.
Oh, I get to start.
Yes.
Well, first off, I really want to thank the applicants. This was fantastic that we got so many extremely qualified people. I was sitting there, we were talking about it before, and this is one of the difficult decisions, right? That's why we're here, is to make some. I do think it's really important, and I think it's mentioned somewhere in here that I know that some folks, like Daryl's been here for a long time and he has his finger in there, but I hope that the folks that aren't selected will continue, because there are tons of opportunities to help out in the town. We have no shortage of needs for people like these folks and the folks who also applied via email that weren't here. But, I think it's going to be a very difficult decision for us. We can go through and talk about the individuals and what my thoughts were going through. Ed didn't describe it, but he provided references in his email. I checked the references, and my wife's from Burlington, by the way. But I did also check, Bob Mercier is a well-known resident in town, and I bugged Bob this morning while he was sitting in Aruba to have him give me some feedback and to say that his reference was glowing. I think that having someone who not only was a firefighter for 30-plus years, but also someone who recently helped put in a fire station in Burlington, I think we would be remiss if we didn't tap into those skills. Mr. Wickens talked about his experience in building large buildings and dealing with the nuances of that. And I also know him from finance and those types of things. I think those were skills that I looked at that jumped out at me. I think that there were other folks that had project management experience, which I think is fantastic. When we look at, I think process is going to be really important in this. There's going to be a lot of moving parts. So I don't know exactly, I'm going to go first and I'm going to give you a couple of nuggets, but I think other folks may have some additional thoughts, but I was just overwhelmed by the tremendous qualifications of the people who were here, and frankly, made me feel real good that that's the type of thing. So I don't know what we did this time, to send out for responses on this, but we need to keep doing that, whatever it is.
I think it was that beautiful sign at the town center.
Must have been that.
So I will start with that.
Thank you. Thoughts, Person Gilfus?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Select Person Eldridge that this is, what's the phrase, an embarrassment of riches? Am I using that correctly? I don't think that we could be any luckier to have really qualified candidates. It is so obvious that no matter who we select, we will be in really good hands, and I think we'll be really well represented. I love that there's such a variety of people that applied. We have some people who are employed by the town. There's people that have been longtime volunteers. There's people that are coming out of Civic Leadership Academy that have not served on boards before. People who have firefighting experience. I don't think that we could have expected that. So I think that this is really, really, really great for us. I also, procedurally, Eric said, I don't know how we do this when you have so many qualified people, more than you have spots for.
Yep.
But I agree, I think that no matter who we select, I hope that the folks that don't get selected still are involved. And I think, Daryl, you were very clear about that you would continue to be involved even if you weren't formally selected. So I appreciate that. I think I was really drawn to Ed with his experience as a firefighter and his experience with building the Burlington Fire Station. And I was really impressed both by Paul and Heather with their program management experience. I think either of those would be really, really good and valuable for the work that we're doing. I don't know. I look forward to hearing others.
That's all I'm looking for is just some overall impressions, and then we can figure out how we're going to select someone. Select Person Cohen.
I think what this really showed is the civic leadership that we put in place and the benefits of that within this town. We saw that with the first round and now with the second round. And, after the first round, we saw a lot of volunteers also come forward. And, I hope no matter who we decide that everybody will stay engaged. Early on in my career, before I was in a career in public service here, I volunteered for the Second Bridge Committee. And basically, it went like this. We all talked, somebody wrote down something, handed it to the chair, and that was it, and I was out. And it left a really bad taste in my mouth. So, I hope no matter what we do tonight, doesn't leave a bad taste in your mouth. Would love everybody to be involved, stay involved somehow. When we had the, committee for the recreation, Ironwood, I know people were selected then either. And again, people weren't happy. But those people that really did want to be on it, they still showed up. You still can't participate. This is a public meeting, so you still can't participate. You just can't vote. So anybody that would like to do that, please do that. I've been working with a lot of fire consultants. I was on the Public Safety Committee. We've been selecting a location, selecting, a consultant to do this. Working with a lot of the ex-firefighters, now the consultants. The one thing that I have struggled with the most and I've tried to get caught up on and have a tough time is all the building options that are out there. And the way you really save, at least I feel, the way we really can save money, it really is determined on the design and how you build that particular building. And every once in a while, they throw this out. If you have a one-story building instead of a two-story building, you can save 1,000 square feet, which is approximately $1 million. I never would have known that. I try to look it up, and it's pretty difficult because I haven't been through that before. And that's one thing with Daryl, he's the only one here that has actually gone through that and has built 3 fantastic sports facilities in town and recently. So that was a big plus for me. We're building a fire station. So somebody with extensive fire experience. I also know Bob Mercier. I was warned not to call him in Aruba. I guess Eric didn't get that memo. I'll just take it that, he gave that information to Eric. I do believe, with project management experience, that also helps with a lot of the, the planning that needs to go through in this. But I think the two things that, when I've looked at this, working with all the fire consultants, is really, I don't understand the building aspect of it, and that would be an advantage, and never been a firefighter before.
Selectperson Coughlin.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one. I've not been exposed to any of this before, so I'm not sure, like, what to do.
It's a real treat.
Yeah, I know. And, well, you did really well. So, and you have been around with the meeting with the architects and that. So, the one thing is, as I was going through each and every one, they came at it in it, like, with a different, like, aspect, right? So I have no pearls of wisdom to any of this. Other than I think everybody would be a really viable candidate. So that's just my weaselly way to say, I don't know what to do here, but no. But it really comes down to, I think, experience, right? Like, you need somebody who has that fire department, perhaps, building experience. And then who else, like, who really wants this? Like, who wants it more? So, like, who sent their letter first? That, I'm not saying that's not how you win, but, like, who wants it more? And also, this civic leadership, I think that really speaks volumes too, right? Like, so people took time out of their busy lives to care about the town. And is this a good natural step? I think so. So maybe, like, lean into that would be a good choice. Project management, I think that's also really important, because cost and efficiencies, it's that kind of stuff too, that regardless if it's building a fire, house versus, implementing new software, you sort of need sort of the same skills. So I think I'm kind of know which way I would be leaning, but I'm not sure what we need to do at this point. So I'm going to turn it over to the chair.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's how you do it, that's right. When all else fails, turn it back to the chair. I echo what everyone else has said. I will say, I'm on the school building committee, and I don't know the first thing about building a school, but being on the committee, you gain a lot of that knowledge. We do have professional project managers and architects that guide us along in that process. So though it would be great if you knew how to build a fire station, it's not mandatory that you have that knowledge. I think you have a knowledge of the town, you have a knowledge of our needs. Those are more important things than knowing the nuts and bolts of how to build a fire station. It's a safe assumption that whoever we hire as our project architect and project manager, they will know what we need to do with input from the townspeople, right? And so, I don't know where the heck we go from here either. I thank everybody for coming out. I thank everybody for volunteering to serve in this committee. I love the fact that the folks that are in the Civic Leadership Academy have stepped forward. I am so impressed that those are the people that are stepping forward. We have some people that are employees of the town. They already have input in a lot of things we do in the town. I'd love to get some people that are not employees of the town to take part in this, right? So that it's not sort of a closed group. So that was sort of would guide some of my decision-making. With that said, how do we proceed forward?
It's totally up to the board. The charge specifically says that these two appointments belong to you. I think you've all identified things that are helpful on a building committee. To Mr. Schneider's point, I also serve on the school building committee, and I couldn't even build a shelf unit that I bought for my office. So I think Selectperson Coughlin made some really good points about engaging with the folks from the Civic Leadership Academy. I think that's a great way to, one, show our appreciation for people participating, but also encourage future participation. And I think, just as a broad reminder of what this committee will be tasked with, it's going to be everything from the schematic design to the community outreach campaign that will need to take place prior to a town meeting vote to help build support within the community for whatever direction the project goes in, selecting ultimately the designer that will do the final design and the construction documents, and then also being on the front lines of deciding who the owner's project manager is. In Massachusetts, for a project this size, you're required to hire an owner's project manager. That's the person for the school building project, that's left field. They do all of the bidding, they're the ones that are physically on the ground inspecting to make sure that things are done correctly. But then also whoever you select as your, the construction firm that will actually build the building. So I think all the things you pointed out are great. I can't tell you how to move forward in a less awkward way because that's the nature of public meetings. But I think keeping in mind all the things you've all said independently and understanding that this group, I think one of the most important things this group will do is be in charge of the public outreach campaign that we'll need to do leading up to a town meeting vote. That's all the wisdom I have. Sorry, I maxed out. That's it. I've got nothing else for you. But at the end of this, you'll need to appoint 2 people. That's all I can tell you.
And it's your problem.
Correct.
Mr. Eldridge?
Oh, you want me to make a
No,
motion?
you could make a motion. You were looking at me like you were going to say something, so.
I'm just looking at you for guidance, but no.
Another round of thoughts.
Yeah.
No, please.
No. No, I mean, I can make a motion. I feel confident as to the 2 people that I think would be best served, given all the criteria, all the discussions that were here. Not, I hate this, right? I really don't like this part of the job, because,
That's why it's
like
good
I
not to be
said, there are
chair.
some fantastic people here, but I do have some thoughts of who my top 2 candidates are, and I'm more than happy to either make it as a motion or just say, whatever you'd like me to do.
Why don't, instead of making, yes, go ahead.
Might I just suggest that you do the motion one individual at a time? That way you're not basically putting forward a slate.
Yep. Yeah, no. So, I mean, the 2 names that I would put forth, and I'm not making a motion here, are Darrell Wickens and Ed McLean. I just thought, given the community outreach that is required and the understanding of what needs to be done, I think Mr. Wickens has that in abundance. And I think that, as I said earlier, Mr. McLean's experience and can connect with, the fire folks and the fire department and the individuals and knows what's there and he's the only one that I know of in this room who has actually participated in the building of a fire station. So those would be the 2 that I think are, everybody was really good, but I think that they were just top-notch.
Absolutely.
Could you?
You have to come up to the mic, though. Yeah, please. Thank you.
I think what the town manager said about somebody going through the leadership piece, I think that's important. And I wouldn't want to take a spot and forgo one of those, because I've done my time, and I will be just as effective sitting in the audience, beating up the members as I would be there. So I'm going to withdraw my application and make it somewhat easier on you to pick somebody that has really.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. That's great.
Appreciate that, as always.
What a classy guy, because I was about to suggest that we not appoint Daryl, and you really made this easy for me.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, Daryl.
So, select person Gilfus, did you want to just?
Yeah, I mean, I
give us
think,
some of your names that you think you're leaning towards?
I think that Ed is absolutely, I don't want to vote for other people, but I think that that's sort of a no-brainer. And I think that if you were to make that motion, we'd all vote in favor. In terms of the other spot, I do think it should go to someone from Civic Leadership Academy. And like I said, I think both Paul and Heather are really qualified. So I'm not going to choose between the 2 of you. How's that?
Well, we will.
Someone will.
Select person Cohane?
I agree that having a firefighter on, Ed, we are building a fire station. He has a lot of experience, and I think that would significantly help out getting the perspective of another firefighter from another town. I think that would help, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank you. Select Person Coughlin.
You didn't pick another one?
I did not. You are correct. Very observant.
Fresh.
Select Person Coughlin, did you want to?
Yeah, no, I'm deliberating in my head.
You didn't either.
No, I mean, I guess, too, Ed having that experience, but again, I'm leaning into the civic leadership folks. And whoever, again, maybe got their letter in first. I don't know how else to like pick that. Do you know what I mean? So.
Okay.
No, I thought we were talking about picking one at a time, that's why.
Yes,
I-
okay. No,
I
that's
said
fine.
one at a time?
Well,
I'm
no, if we're
sorry.
doing one at a time, I think
Yeah.
it
that one
sounds like we have a
done first.
consensus here.
Okay.
So do we want to make a, Mr. Elders, do we want to make a motion on the first candidate?
And then we'll dig in.
I'm more than happy to do that. Mr. Chair, I move that the Select Board appoint Ed McLean as resident at large to the Fire Station Building Committee.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? That carries 5-0-0. Now comes the difficult one, folks.
Okay, now who are the people that were here who are on the civic leadership?
So Heather Murphy is on the Civic Leadership Academy, and so was Paul.
Do you want to like
Oh,
rock,
Flip a
paper,
coin.
scissors?
The last person spoke. Paul
Like
Licata.
arm wrestle?
No.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think that you're probably stronger than Paul.
let me look at them.
I think that either selection would be a really good fit. I think that Heather specifically talked about budget management, having a lot of experience with some of the pieces, also the stakeholder management, which we know is going to be a really significant part of this. I think I'm leaning Heather, but
No, that's all I'm looking for is your thoughts.
yep.
Mr. Chair, if I might, so I don't, while oftentimes you sit there and take them both, that type of thing, there is a desire to have an odd number of people in a committee, that's one of the things. However, what we could do is have an alternate member, so appoint one member and the other would be an alternate member. We had, I think we had multiple in the building, didn't we, in the middle school?
No, that one was prescribed by law. There was no room for alternates. I think on this you'd call it an associate member. It
Associate
just
member.
wouldn't have any voting.
Okay. But I think we can do that. I'm throwing that out there
Okay.
to help alleviate some of the concerns that might be there.
Is it okay for us to maybe ask if they would be amenable to that?
You can ask anything we want. If so, I guess we're addressing Heather and Paul. If one of you were picked as the member and one as an associate member, would either or both of you be amenable to doing that? Okay.
Would you like to pull your application otherwise?
No.
That's what I'm just, you know.
All right, fine. Please, come up. Yeah, we got you.
In regards to experience, Heather did, as you said, Jackie, Heather does have more budget experience than myself. Stakeholder management, I kill that. You know, like I'm really good with customers, I'm really good with process. But if you guys are focusing on budgets, then I would definitely defer to Heather. You know, just to be transparent.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know where I am.
No, honestly, if there are questions that you feel like you need to have answered, I think both Paul and I are happy to share any other questions that you might have about our experience. I do have vendor experience, sourcing, RFPs, all that stuff, so I've been through that piece too, which I'm sure Paul has too.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have questions, I'm sure both of us are happy to sit here and help you sift through any questions.
I mean, I don't have further questions. You both seem highly qualified. We can't go wrong with either pick, right? So, but I will turn it over to Mr. Cohane to give me any further thoughts.
Well, I mean, when I think Colin was talking about, he did talk about budget, but he also talked about outreach. So, you know, I do think one area where the person that is selected, can really help in the outreach. There's a lot to do there. We have a lot of interactions that we need to do with the residents. We know we need, and I would prefer that, I wish, every person in town that's going to go out and vote would go to the fire station first and learn directly from the firefighters. So I think being accessible to help with the outreach would be very significant. I think Ed can help out with helping define, from a fire station perspective, what we really need to really focus in on to help people decide. And we really have to ask lots of questions of the residents, which is kind of the next phase of this. We've gone a long way, and these projects take a long, long time. And we're really at the point where now that we're moving forward with the design, and the consultant that we picked also has an outreach coordinator, and, going to be working very closely with that person. I do think that's one area that we would like some help, and help coordinating that. And I think that would help. Just my thoughts on what is needed.
Okay. Select Person Coughlin?
Yeah, no,
Thoughts?
I'm just, I guess to add to that, right, like it's, who's going to sell it more to their fellow residents, right? Because this is going to be, could potentially be a tough sell. I know most people do want, if they, a new firehouse, but when they look at the cost, it could be something that could be problematic. So I guess who sells it more? So.
Put an awful lot on this person's shoulders.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, we're making sure that, I think it's important for us to say what the expectations are, right?
I think,
And I think this is a committee that takes a lot of time, just like the school building committee did. Some committees, you go there, you show up, you vote, and you're done. I don't think that's one of these committees. I think this is going to take a lot of effort to do it right, and we have to do it right, because you only get one shot at this, and it takes a long time to bring it back. So we just need, that's what we're looking for.
we're going to do an up and down vote.
Up and down vote?
Up and down.
I have no idea what that means.
We're just going to vote.
Oh,
We're going to start,
Thank you, too, for making it so hard on us.
Yes. So,
It's a good problem to have, honestly.
I'm just going to propose whoever's been here the longest and just go with that, because it's like flipping a coin or whatever, and just say who moved to town first.
Yeah.
And because I honestly think they're both going to be terrific in a committee setting. And then have the other one be the associate member.
I'll need a separate vote
Yeah. Because we have to authorize an associate member, right?
at a future meeting, because the charge wasn't on
But
the
I mean,
agenda.
that's what I would throw out there. I'm just picking something arbitrary.
make a motion, please.
Hang on, now I gotta look it up. Which one of you has been here the longest?
it's Heather.
Heather?
Yeah.
All right, so then. I don't need certification. I trust you.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that the Select Board appoint Heather Sue Murphy as resident at large to the Fire Station Building Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same, that carries 500.
I'm sorry, Paul, we jump into decision. I'm trying to make things happen.
We will
Okay.
find work for you,
How
that's for
about
sure.
how about a second motion?
Well, respectfully, so if the board is interested in adding an associate position, the charge was not on your agenda tonight, so if you make a modification right now, you'd likely run afoul of the open meeting law. I can add to your agenda for November 3rd
Please.
to amend the charge, and I can add to the same agenda, appoint an associate member.
That would be great. Thank you very much.
Can I also, Mr.
Yes,
Chair?
yes.
Can we, I would perhaps see if you can do two associate members for residents at large, because there were some other folks in there, and just, then that way we keep with the odd numbers and all those types of things, and then, I hope that Paul will absolutely apply for that role, but it could be that there's another, then it gives us room if somebody else wants to go through as a
I
resident.
think that's a great idea. Thank you. If you could do that.
Just so I'm clear, so you want me to also post?
No, for
Are you gonna
our future
reapply?
meeting,
Yep.
a future meeting, to allocate 2 associate member positions on
But from the pool of applicants that we already
that. That
have?
we already have.
Okay, you said apply, so you don't want me to ask for new applications?
No,
Okay.
I don't want you to pull your application. That's what I'm
Gotcha.
hoping.
Okay.
I'm hoping nobody pulls their application.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yes. So we're all set with that.
And
Yes.
again, is one of the requirements that they attended civic leadership?
No.
Okay, just asking the question.
Okay. So now we need to do the other position.
Which is a representative of the select board, and
Aha.
hopefully it's not as difficult to pick. It's only 5 of you.
Mr. Eldridge, we will make a motion and then we can discuss who we want to pick. Oh,
I can't make a motion if I
that's
don't
right,
know who
we
we're
have a
picking.
name. So let's have a name. Does anybody on the select board want to step forward and volunteer to join the fire station building committee?
Well, Mr. Chair, I've done a lot of work, on the fire station in different committees, but I also have been on a lot of different committees. And as we talked about, sometimes having somebody new, on some of these committees could be advantageous. So, I mean, I will throw my name in there, but I'd also like to hear if anybody else would like to run.
You?
I actually would like to do this. That was one of the things that, when I thought about running for this position, I was looking at the fire station as one of the areas of concern that I had. And I think I'm a very budget conscious person, and I'm looking forward to this, very passionate about this. So I would like to volunteer in this committee member.
I think that's great. Thank you. You won't be putting words in your mouth either.
Oh,
way.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Can I just add on to that a little bit?
You can add on to anything you want, sir.
Okay. So, as I said, I think it's a good idea to have different people, on these different committees. But before she volunteers and we give our blessing, I also want to make sure that she realizes what we said to them out there also. It's going to be a lot of work, a lot of outreach. And as we held Ron Schneider's feet to the fire when it came to the school committee to stay on budget or to stay within the budget, we will also keep your feet to the fire, as long as I'm here.
Thank you.
So that's kind of, and again, like we talked about, I think it's going to be a lot of work, right? And so as long as everybody's, your expectations are that, and you still like to do it,
Yes.
then
I would-
then I will withdraw my name.
Okay, you withdraw, okay. Select person Gilfus.
I was going to
Thoughts?
nominate Select Person Coughlin. As you said, you ran on the platform of first responders. I know that that's something that's really important to you. I think that you would be absolutely the right person.
Thank
to serve
you.
us. Yeah.
Thanks.
Select person Eldridge. Thoughts?
I think Select Person Coughlin would do a fantastic job, and I think that she knows that all of us will be there to help in
Yes.
any way that we
Thanks.
can.
No.
And we
Yeah.
will also, our role is ultimately to greatly support this project. So while you will be attending those meetings, we'll expect regular updates, and we're there to help. And I think our role is part of outreach and ensuring that residents are aware each step of the way of, we know that in the absence of information, people will make stuff up. So we want to make sure that everybody's informed throughout this process. So you have my support, and I know that whatever we need to do to help make this a success for the whole committee, I'm committed to that. So I'm totally on board.
All right, I have no further thoughts. I think everybody has echoed whatever I would have said. So how about we make a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that the Select Board appoint Adele Coughlin as their representative to the Fire Station Building Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries 500.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I didn't have to arm
Congratulations,
wrestle him.
No,
No, I don't think Mr.
I would've liked to see
Cohen
it.
wants to arm wrestle anyone. All
I
right,
could have lost.
we are,
Thank you to everyone that came.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
You're
No
more than
pressure to
welcome to
leave-
stay,
to stay,
but I'm
yeah.
not expecting to.
We still have
Just a
fire
formality.
station.
Yeah, I also technically if you'd be so kind. As a formality, the charge that you adopted said the town manager will serve on the fire station building committee. But before I can get sworn in, I need the board to affirmatively vote to appoint me, if you'd be so kind.
Would you be so kind, Mr. Eldridge?
Mr. Chair, I move that the Select Board appoint Colin Loisel as the town manager representative to the Fire Station Building Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and a
Thank you, everybody,
second.
for coming. Thank you. Thank you
Thanks very much, everyone.
Appreciate it.
I have a motion and a second
On what?
to appoint Mr. Loisel. Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? It carries 500.
Thank you for your service, Colin.
Thank you.
He thought he was going to get out of it.
Right, we are on to, and moving back up, you want to hold off your town manager's report for the
I will go
meeting?
wherever you'd like me to go.
All right, then let's go to 7A, discuss and approve the preferred location of the new fire station on Winslow School parcel.
Fantastic. At the board's last meeting, it directed me to move forward with the design of a new fire station on the Winslow School parcel without incorporating any parts of the old school in the design. As indicated in that presentation, the next decision the board has to make is where the new station will sit on the parcel, specifically whether or not we should be contemplating the demolition of the Winslow School as a part of this project. This decision is important because although it could certainly be reversed down the road, to get the most accurate cost estimates ahead of an outreach campaign before town meeting, the designer will need to incorporate any site work, the scope of which will differ depending on its location on the site. Additionally, there will be some sacrifices to the design made if the Winslow School is not demolished as a part of the project. Most importantly, and none of this is new to this board, there would be no drive-through bays, there would be less parking, and little flexibility for an access road behind the building. All of these considerations will play a role in the cost estimating. It's important that we have the most accurate cost estimates going into a town meeting because we all know that you really only get one shot at a project this size. If we go to town meeting with inaccurate cost estimates and need to go back for additional funds, we lose credibility and run the risk of not getting the additional funding. I want to be clear. A vote of the select board today will not result in the demolition of the Winslow School tomorrow. In fact, no such demo could take place until funding is appropriated by town meeting. That would most likely appear in the project budget for a new fire station in the same way that the funding to demo the old middle school was included in the middle school project budget. Again, so there's no confusion, tonight you are not voting to direct me to demolish the Winslow School. Tonight you are simply voting to tell me that the board's preference is that the school be designed assuming the Winslow School doesn't stay where it is. Here are some considerations regarding the placement of the building on the site. Based on the work that we did with Valley Brensinger when we were exploring locations for a new fire station, we know that the best place on the site for a new station is in the place of the Winslow School. Doing this would maximize site parking, allow for drive-through bays, which are shown to increase safety and reduce accidents, allow for an access road behind the building for non-emergency vehicles to enter and exit via Kendall Road through the existing parking lot, and maximize open space on the parcel. If the station was to be built on the back of the parcel without touching the Winslow School, we could still achieve the core program needs of a fire station, but would have the following limitations. As I said, no drive-through bays, reduced parking. Any new station would likely include some sort of large training or meeting room, which would likely double as our emergency operations center. That would serve not just as a resource for the fire department and the police department, but could also be used for external training opportunities. I've been to the Chelmsford Police Department's training room a handful of times for state trainings. These are things that happen quite regularly in these newer facilities. Limited parking makes that tough. If we contemplated the Winslow School staying where it is, a fire station in the back, any future use of the Winslow School would be hindered by the fact that we would now be sharing what is already limited parking between the Littlefield Library, whatever the Winslow School could hypothetically end up being, and the fire station. The new station would, the other downside, of course, is that you'd be building a brand new station behind a building that is currently condemned, and that may not be the wisest place to put a $15 to $19 million building. I've attached to this memo the draft site plan that LaValle Brensinger put together showing that the best location for a new fire station is in place of the Winslow School. Note that in any configuration, the Littlefield Library remains untouched and its location unchanged. This board is acutely aware that we received, I think, a total of 80 grand from the Mass Historic Commission to redo the bricks, the roof, and some painting on the Littlefield Library. As a part of that, town meeting approved, and this board recorded with the Registry of Deeds, a deed restriction on only the Littlefield Library that prevents us from making any substantial alterations to it or moving it without first paying back that money to the state. 80 grand. So there is at no point have we discussed moving, amending, altering anything in the Littlefield Library. In the days since your joint meeting with the Historical Commission, we've received and seen some common questions, so I just thought that it would be helpful to kind of get ahead of those. Not all of these are entirely related to your decision, but I think this is certainly a subject that draws some attention and maybe a little bit of anxiety, so I wanted to make sure that everybody's on the same page, both here and then at home. One of the common questions is who has the authority to determine the future use of the Winslow School? In Tyngsborough, the Select Board is still the Chief Executive Officer. As such, you have control over all land and facilities that are not under the jurisdiction of another board, such as the school committee. In the case of the Winslow School, that building falls under the jurisdiction of the Select Board, and therefore it is this board and this board only that can determine what, if anything, happens to the school. As you all know, we've got the complicated fact that the Historical Commission made a request to the Community Preservation Committee for funding to restore the outside. So what is the role that CPC has to play? CPC is a board that has authority over the use of the town's community preservation funds. They review requests for use of the funding to ensure that it meets certain criteria, and they recommend or do not recommend it to town meeting. If the Community Preservation Committee votes favorably on a request, then it goes to town meeting for consideration. As it relates to the Winslow School, the committee's jurisdiction ends at determining whether or not the use of CPC funds for any project at the Winslow School or any other location is appropriate, and then sending the request to town meeting for approval. The Community Preservation Committee does not have authority over the physical building, what happens in it, how it's used. That remains with the Select Board. I won't go much into this, but we've been asked what CPC funds can be used on. They can only be used to support historic preservation, open space, recreation projects, and affordable housing. While CPC funding can be used for the restoration part of the Winslow School, you can't use CPC funds for things like maintenance, staffing, utilities, some of those ongoing costs that you would incur once the restoration is complete. Is the Winslow School on the Massachusetts Register of Historic Places, and what does that mean? Yes, in 2017, the town added it to the Massachusetts Register of Historic Places. It's really symbolic only. Listing a building on the register does not limit its future. It doesn't prevent you from demolishing it or modifying it. It's much different than the deed restriction that we have on the Littlefield Library. What town uses were previously explored at the Winslow School, and do we have cost estimates for a full restoration? In 2022, as a part of a prior iteration of a public safety building study, the town looked at using the Winslow School as a new town hall. That had a convoluted plan that this would become a police station, we build a fire station somewhere else. At the time, the cost to restore the old Winslow School and convert it into your standard office building, which would be Town Hall, was $13.1 million. Given the cost and the fact that the focus needs to be on the fire station, that concept was abandoned. We've included the cost estimate that we got back in 2022 on the Fire Station Building Committee's page. Our goal is to use that page as kind of just one-stop shopping for all things related to this project and the parcel in general, so that residents don't have to bounce around looking for info. Most importantly are these last two questions. Why was the 250 Middlesex Road parcel identified as the best parcel for a new fire station? In looking at a new parcel, the board prioritized parcels that were already owned by the town, and that was clearly to avoid additional acquisition costs. Any future building project would need to be funded exclusively by debt exclusion, which means a direct tax impact on your tax bill. Our general fund, our free cash balance, none of that can support the construction of a new building. It would have to be through a debt exclusion, which is similar to the middle school, a new tax on top of your regular tax bill. And so this board, I think very wisely, directed me, and Mr. Cohen was on this group, to find parcels that the town already owned. Additionally, the land needed to be in the town center based on the recommendation of our fire chief, and he explained this at our last meeting, because as we all know, we respond from one station, that's the headquarters that we're talking about replacing, and unlike police who are out patrolling in different areas of town, when an ambulance is called, it's coming from a central location. And so to ensure that every area of town has adequate response time, the chief has been very clear for as long as we've been talking about a new fire station, where that building needed to be. And then finally, we knew based on our work with the architects who design public safety buildings, that in order to meet our space needs, as well as the associated utility space, parking spaces, we needed at least 1.67 acres of buildable land. So that's not a parcel that's 4 acres, but only 1 acre of it is buildable, 1.6 acres of buildable land. The Winslow School is the only town-owned parcel that met all those criterias. And so as such, we were very clear going into the May 2025 town meeting vote on a schematic design funding that that was our preferred site. And then finally, are there any other town-owned parcels that work? No, the only other parcel of land that meets the criteria on paper is 292 Middlesex Road. That parcel has a total of 2 acres, but when you apply both the 50-foot wetlands buffer, where no buildings are permitted, and the 100-foot buffer, which would allow some very limited development, you've cut off half the site and now you're at less than an acre. Additionally, that site used to be a gas station and it's currently subject to a Mass DEP brownfields determination, which means that nothing can be done to the site until we identify what hazardous materials are in the ground and then clean it up. 2 years ago, we applied through a redevelopment grant to have the state pick up the tab for testing that parcel to see what the contaminants are, and then hopefully funding the cleanup. The redevelopment grant is intended to clean up underutilized parcels so they can be redeveloped for economic development purposes, and a new town-owned fire station would not meet that. It's not impossible. What that means is that if the wetlands weren't an issue, we would have to pay back the state for the testing component they've already started and handle the cleanup of the site ourselves. And I just included in here a map because a couple people have mentioned this parcel. If you look at the TV here, this square that's highlighted in gold is that parcel. The dark green line is the 50-foot no disturbance. That means that you can't put a telephone pole, you can't put anything, certainly not a building. Even if you look just at that, you've cut off half the parcel. The light green is the 100-foot no disturbance. It's a little bit less restrictive. You can go to your local conservation commission and get some accommodations, but generally speaking, you would have to replicate those wetlands elsewhere, and as you can see on this parcel, you don't really have any options. That was a lot, but I know that our last meeting we did a lot of talking, and I don't want people to think that this board doesn't have all of the information. But I wanted to demonstrate that this was a deliberate process. My office, the fire chief, Select Person Cohen, and this board have been very intentional about identifying the best parcel, and so I think information is key here, and making sure that people know how we ended up where we are today has been helpful. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I included in your packet all of the documents that I had in there last week, just in case you have any questions.
Start with Select Person Eldridge.
So I get to be the Debbie Downer.
Oh.
I mean, we've talked about it before. I don't think this is a surprise to anybody. We had the Historical Commission, and they said the only use of that location was for the Winslow School and for open space, and that they did not want to have the fire station at all. So having them coexist, I don't think is feasible. They don't want to move the building. I think, unfortunately, in the current economic climate and where things are for the foreseeable future, we need to have a property that we own that is in a good location, centrally located, and provides the viability that's there. And the experts have all said that this is the right space. I don't think that we can sacrifice on some of the key safety items as part of the drive-through bays. Even if we look at the current machines that we have, it's really hard to park those things, and trying to back them in and doing those things, we're just asking for trouble. I think if we're gonna spend this money, we need to do it right. And, I think that there are folks that think that CPC money can be used to rehabilitate over a period of time the Winslow School. That time passed a long time ago. Just getting it shored up to the point where it you could maintain it, you have to have power and you have to have heating in there. You can't just put a bubble wrap around it and expect that it's not going to further deteriorate. I think this is one of those really difficult decisions. That's why we were voted in office, is to make some of these really difficult decisions. And, I don't see any path whereby we can address this critical issue of fire safety and those folks that are there, those first responders, they need a facility that, they can work safely in. They don't have it. This is the right spot for it. And as much as it pains me, and I know people are going to be mad at me, some people are going to be mad at me, but I think that when you look at it, this is the right place for that fire station. And I don't see any other way around it, because we've been looking for a long time to come up with ways to do it. And I think, we're fooling ourselves into thinking that there's an alternative for that. So I think we have to proceed with the plan that assumes that Winslow will not be there. And ultimately, it's not our decision to make that decision. That'll be up to residents. And I think, we talked about the committee and other folks to be thoughtful in how we approach that and take people through that so that they have all the facts when it is time to go through. But I think if we were to try to cobble something together, I think we're going to end up with the Band-Aid and the firefighters are going to end up with something that's just not going to work. And I don't think that's not our responsibility, is really to provide for residents and the employees who work so hard and put their lives on the line to help protect them.
Thank you. Select Person Gilfus. No.
I mean, I've said this time and time again that I hate this. I hate this topic because it's a lose-lose. It honestly, and Select Person Eldridge said, there are going to be people that are upset on either side of it. Having had conversations with residents about Winslow, I take issue with us recommending to tear it down, which ultimately is what, I know that that's not what this vote is, but it is what this vote is. And I really take issue with that because I do think that the residents want to keep the building. I do not think that residents have an appetite for the tax implication to renovate it, though. And knowing that there has to be, I think it's non-negotiable, we have to build the fire station, and there's going to be a tax implication to that. I really don't think that residents, if residents were asked to decide between the fire station and Winslow, I think it would be very clear that they would vote for the fire station. I wish that there was more money. I wish that this building could be moved to a different location, similar to what the Historical Commission said about the old schoolhouse that's now in Dunstable. I hate it. I hate it. I want to honor the people that I spoke to when I was on the 250 Middlesex Commission. I do think that the right place for the fire station is the location of Winslow, though.
Thank you. Thank you for your candid comments. That was great. Select Person Cohen.
Everybody's covered a lot. What I kind of wanted to focus in on a little bit is what I heard directly from the consultants. And we asked all the consultants, all the same questions. And we're trying to learn from them, what their thoughts were and what their concerns were when we went through this process. But what was consistent is a firefighter consultants and actually our fire chief have consistently recommended that the new station be located near the bridge on the west side to improve response times across both sides of town. And the fire chief has been very consistent with me on that for the past 9 years. He's always said that. And the consultants, specifically identified the current location of where exactly the Winslow School is today, for many of the reasons that Colin mentioned earlier, which I will not repeat. But one of our big questions we had for the consultants really was, is there enough space for both a refurbished Winslow School and a new fire station? And while both buildings could technically fit, there would not be sufficient parking for both. So there's no way we could build up both. And routing emergency vehicles through a shared parking lot would create safety and operational challenges. And that was the one that really kind of struck me. You don't build a fire station and then have to go through a big parking lot to be able to get out to the street. You just can't do that. It would slow response times significantly to do that. The Historical Commission expressed interest in developing the Winslow School, while fire safety experts have underscored its critical importance for emergency response. Because traffic congestion in town, especially near the bridge, the big bottleneck in town, can delay response times, locating the fire station on the west side is essential for the fastest and safest coverage of the entire community. And they were all just very adamant about that. And finally, really, both the fire station and Winslow School project would require a tax increase. CPC funds alone will not cover redevelopment of the Winslow parcel. We had an estimate before. Colin had mentioned that earlier. It was $13.1 million. When they presented that to us, we asked the question, did you look at the damage that was currently at the Winslow School? No, we didn't look behind the walls. I noticed in your estimate, you did not have a roof on your estimate. Well, no, we didn't put that in. It kind of looks okay. Who's going to build a $13 million building and not replace the roof? Plus, with all the, inflation and everything else, you're talking about $15 to $20 million easy for the Winslow School. CPC money will not cover that. It will be a tax increase. For every $5 million of a project is a 1% tax increase. So 15 to 20 million is another 3 to 4% tax increase. A new fire station is probably, let's just be honest, another 3 to 4. We still have cost estimates to do, but to give you a range, another 3 or 4%. We went through the same thing when we had the school. All of a sudden, the school building, we got on, the state project list, and then it was a school or a public safety building. It's one or the other, everybody. You can't do both. I don't think the residents would vote for a 3 to 4% tax increase for a fire station and a 3 or 4% tax increase for the Winslow School. We're going to have to make a decision. It's one or the other. And when I put that question in front of the residents, it's the fire station. When I also put the question in front of the residents, with the Winslow School, would you accept a tax increase to redo the Winslow School? And the answer is always just tear it down. Everybody thinks the CPC money is going to cover everything, and that's the message we have to kind of get across. It's not going to cover everything. There's not enough CPC money. There was a proposal from the Historical Commission, well, we'll just, spend $1 million every year, and fix something up. It's a condemned building. Unless the whole thing is done, nobody can go in there. That would take 15 years to actually complete the Winslow School, and you wouldn't have access to it until it was 100% completed. So that's not an option. So I think we just have to be clear, with the residents. We really have to get all the information out. There's when Colin goes through all that information, I know a lot of that information. But when you go through it in 5 minutes, it's going to take time for us to really get that information out. We have a lot of work to do to work with the residents, with the public relations people, to get the word out. But I think it's clear, if we're going to build a fire station, I think it needs to be exactly where the Winslow School is. And that's just the way it is. We don't have enough money for both. I don't think the residents have appetite for 2 tax increases in one year. And, we just got a look at the Winslow School, what the condition is, and it's in bad shape. We have the report, we can give that to everybody. All you gotta do is go to the back of the Winslow School, and right above the granite where the frame is, all you have to do is look on it, all you gotta do is really look. And most of it's rotted out. So when you have to search, and even one of the consultants said, once you start replacing the frame, you might as well tear an old building down anyway. Because you're basically rebuilding the whole thing at that point. So I think that's where we're at. And I will let Select Person Coughlin.
Select Person Coughlin.
Now
Your
she
thoughts?
knows what she's up against.
Another tough decision. So when I look at the Winslow School and I look at, we've already spent hundreds, thousands of dollars on it in the past few years, right? And what do we have to show for it? And so do we continue kind of throwing money at it? That's one of the really tough as a taxpayer to justify. And then having a new fire station and we definitely need it. The town needs it. And are we going to spend all that money on a new fire station to say, oh, well, you don't have the drive-through bays, or you don't have this or that because of the Winslow School? So, we have to take it and spend the money wisely, but give people what they need, give the firefighters what they need, right? So, and I don't know, I think the best for the town would be to put it right where the Winslow School is. That's what I'm saying. Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll echo what you said. When we talked about this at our last meeting, I had said, the elephant in the room is money, right? And I don't think this town can afford to do both projects. Although I agree with Select Person Gilfus, I hate that you're competing 2 projects against each other, right? There are people that are passionate about the Winslow School, and we're going to hear from them. There are people that are passionate about the fire station. I don't know that there are people that are passionate enough to want to do both of them. And I don't think that we can do both of them. I've heard from people in the town that said, well, why don't we look on the east side of the town where, the Lakeview station is, and acquire the land by the soccer fields and build it there. But that doesn't meet the chief's request that it be near the center of town. That's further from the center of town. That actually makes it a much more difficult response time. So it's, there's no easy answer. It's not going to be a popular decision, but I agree that if you look at the thing that's most important to this town, it's building the fire station. None of this is guaranteed. The town has to be sold on 1, the need for the fire station, and then 2, to take on that tax burden. Those are 2 huge lifts that are still ahead of us. All we can do as a board is make a recommendation of what we think the right answer is, and then bring it to the townspeople and let them decide that. So, with that said.
Mr. Chair, if I could just one more.
You could say whatever you want.
Thank you. I think Mr. Eldridge said something that I think was really important, which is we were elected to make the difficult decisions. And coming into this meeting, I have thought over and over, I wish that I didn't need to make this decision. But I recognize that that is no one's responsibility but ours.
Yep.
So I take ownership of that. That being said, I think hearing everyone, it sounds like everyone else is going to vote in favor of placing the new fire station on that site. I think if the board will not think that I am a chump, I think I'd like to vote in opposition, knowing full well that this is going to pass, but to honor the residents that I've heard from. Because I want them to know that they were heard. I really don't want this. I don't want residents to feel like the work that was done and the conversations that were had or for not, because I want to honor that. So as long as you will not all pass judgment on me, then I will do that.
We would never pass judgment. And suffice it to say, there will be this much discussion and more at the town meeting when this comes up again. So this is not the last word on it. But thank you.
Yeah, and if I could offer some perspective on that, because I appreciate your concerns. I don't want people to think that how we vote means we did not hear from people. We did hear. We've heard from people. We know that there is extreme passion about this, and that there are people that have put a lot of time and energy and effort into achieving that vision. I think that, you know, I don't want our message to be, well, we're hearing you, and that. I also worry that if we go through, and I think you need to vote your conscience. I think ultimately that's what you need to do, and vote what's right. I do think that when we have things that are not unanimous, it opens up certain things for discussion. That's why I don't believe in symbolic votes. I think that people should vote their conscience and vote what's right in that. But I'm giving you an alternate perspective on that situation, because I know that I've been listening, and I've been listening for, even before I was on the board, to understand, okay, let me understand what the vision is and how to achieve that vision. And I think I would have loved to have seen those types of things happen. I would have loved to have seen the center of town be this grandiose area that is just, but I think we have a reality. I mean, I would love to have a big mansion with all the things that, come with that, but we have budgets. We have things that we need to work within. So I appreciate your thoughts on that and the symbolism of that, but I don't want anybody to think that we have not heard what's there, because, I mean, we all take this very, very seriously, and we talked about this being very difficult for us. So that's all I will offer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Selectman Eldridge. Did you make a motion?
I will try. Mr. Chair, I move that we direct the committee, right, because is it the committee, or are we directing the town manager?
You can direct anyone you like.
Direct the town, the fire station building committee to work with the design of the fire station being on or about the location of the current Winslow School, which is most advantageous for all the reasons mentioned.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Abstained? That carries 410, sorry.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Okay, item 7B, discuss the updates to the Code of Conduct policy. I had a brief discussion with Select Person Coughlin about this, and this is in recognition, a number of our neighboring towns have run into some Code of Conduct challenges, I should say, recently, where they've talked about, removing people from office, about even recall votes. It just begged us to say, have we looked at our Code of Conduct policy recently? Should we look at it again to make sure that it's complete? Should we, focus on the enforcement side of it and make sure we're clear on if there is an allegation of a Code of Conduct violation, that it's properly being handled? Selectperson Coughlin, any other thoughts on that?
No, I think that you explained it.
So rather than bat this around all night tonight, what I'm going to ask for is if we could get 2 people of our committee to volunteer to take a deeper dive into the Code of Conduct policy, and then come back to this committee at a later date with some recommendations, or if you say that it's fine with recommendations, that no recommendations, say that it's fine and it's complete. But I think that's the best way to handle this at this time. So I will ask for, do we have any volunteers that want to look at our code of conduct policy?
Mr. Chair, as much as I don't want to, I was involved in this because we approved this, I think, 2.5 years ago, give or take. And I know that I was on the group small group, a couple of us had looked at this relative to the code of conduct, so I have some of the historical references, I guess,
Yes.
and some of the spirit and intent. So I would be willing to review this.
Thank you.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
You can ask.
And maybe this is more so actually for Select Person Eldridge. This code of conduct applies to all elected and appointed officials. It's not just the Select Board. When you last reviewed it, did that involve people from other committees or people that had been elected? Was it a larger group than just
Yeah,
Select Board?
it was not intended to cover only the select board.
Yep.
It was for all elected and appointed members.
Yep.
So we looked at a variety of things that, we're ensuring that we comply with the law, right? There's still the First Amendment and all those things. So we did look at all those, but the intent was elected and appointed.
Do you think that it's okay for just 2 people from the Select Board to review, or do you feel like it requires more engagement? Or maybe this is just a first pass?
I would strongly recommend that 2 people, because
Yeah.
I think we could go back and forth on a bunch of things, and I think if we were to just talk through some of the items and answer some of them, I think that
Be terrific. So if you and Select Person Eldridge could work together, come back to us at a future meeting.
Yep.
Tell us that it's either great or that it could use some tweaking. I think that would be terrific. Thank you very much. All right, item 7C. This is to discuss the process for board communication to citizens who email the board.
Yeah, I won't read everything in this memo because it's kind of lengthy, but before the board engaged in this conversation about establishing a practice for responding, obviously, anytime me or any of our staff are sent an email, we reply confirming receipt, and of course, the board has seen that in the last couple of months. When a resident emails the select board mailing list, it doesn't go automatically to me or to anyone in our office. It is just the 5 of you. So our office is not responding to all emails because we don't see them all. Oftentimes, residents will reach out either collectively to all of you or individually, and some of you will forward those communications to us. Typically, that has to do with requests for services, clarification on programs or policies, and we'll deal with that. But certainly as of late, I think you've all seen an increase in people sharing their opinions with you on matters that are on the agenda. As you know, in your packet, we have a section called correspondence. And so when somebody asks us to include something for the record, we add it to the correspondence. There's a cover sheet, it says who sent it, and then the body of it. So how the board chooses to respond to things that are only sent to the select board, I'll defer to you. I'll just say that as has been past practice and should continue, if folks are reaching out to you with requests for services, they need assistance navigating something, certainly pass that to me and we'll make sure the right staff deal with it. But I think, as it relates to sharing their opinion or asking you to vote on certain things, that's something that's probably best left to you all to decide how you handle that.
So,
Select Person Cohen.
yeah, I had asked Colin, if he had reached out to other communities to see how they're doing this. And I think I would propose that maybe he reach out to other communities to get an understanding of how they do this.
Yep.
And then come back and discuss this at a later time.
I think that would be a good idea. Yeah, Colin, if you could do that, and just see what the, sort of the best practices are in some of our neighboring communities.
Sure.
Then we could amend or follow along with that. Okay. 7D.
If I could actually
Oh,
just make one comment on that.
yes.
No, it's okay. Select Person Coughlin and I have talked about this. That's part of the reason why it's on the agenda. And, I mean, candidly, we all know what's been going on. We know what has come before the board and that there's been a lot of comments, particularly about me. And so I would say my experience through this has been, I truly have not known what to say to residents. And I want to, sort of similar to the conversation we were just having, like, I want to honor residents that take the time to reach out to us, and I want to acknowledge receipt, but I also don't want to make light of issues by not talking about them over email, and I don't want, like, procedurally, it's been really challenging because I want to make sure that we're saying the appropriate thing or the right thing, and so that's part of the reason why this is here, is really just like, how do we serve our residents well while not getting into more trouble, potentially.
Right,
So.
and I think, to your point, this is why we want to have a procedure where we treat all communication consistently.
Yeah.
Right, so it's something that's coming to you necessarily, or to Mr. Cohen or whomever, that we have a procedure, whether it's me as the board chair or whomever, that we do that consistently and timely. So we respect the citizens, even if we don't agree with their opinions or whatever, just that they can expect a response from us. So we will deal with that.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Select Person Cohen, for recommending that. I think that's a great approach.
And then can I just quickly add to that? So this also had to do with, prior to any of the comments, as a new member, whenever I saw an email come through, I just wasn't sure, like, who's doing what. And sometimes I'd see something from Colin, but then there were times where his name wasn't on it. So just a way to recognize those citizens who are reaching out to us, and even just to say, got it, we'll take it under advisement, and because I think we want to encourage that.
And like not replying all, because we don't want like an open meeting
Yeah,
violation.
All the more reason to have a procedure around this. Thank you. All right. Item 7D.
As some board members may remember, in August 2023, the Select Board approved a social equity policy related to the licensing of cannabis facilities located in town. At that time, the town had options to A, either adopt the blanket policy drafted by the Cannabis Control Commission, or B, draft its own policy compliant with applicable Commonwealth regulations. We opted at that time for a town-drafted policy, which was approved by this board in August of 2023. Fast forward to this summer, the CCC asked for copies of our policies, amongst some other things, to ensure that we were compliant as a host community, which requires maintaining certain equity practices. In review of our adopted policy, the CCC indicated our policy is missing a provision that would make the local approval process for a new applicant review operate on a one-to-one basis, meaning that a general applicant may be approved only after a social equity business has commenced operations. The amended policy you have before you this evening ensures compliance with those CCC regulations. If not adopted, the CCC could fine the town should we fail to be in compliance. So this update is really to ensure that that does not happen. And I've included some definitions and edits to the policy for your reference this evening.
Thank you. Comments from the board? Select Person Eldridge.
I mean, there's that one component that's in there. Is there anything pending that would
No,
be
there's
impacted by this?
No, there's nothing pending with the town. As part of, town regulations, that we have two retail cannabis operations here in town. That is the maximum that we're permitted. So really, there's no changes to existing licenses, and, short of something happening to the existing licenses that we have, this wouldn't have an impact in the immediate future. This would have an impact should one of those operations, end its host community agreement with the town.
And all we're doing here is amending our policy to be consistent with mass law.
Correct.
Like we do with a variety of other things.
Right.
Exactly.
No other questions.
Select Person Gilpus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you just remind me, we have the 2 facilities and you said we're only licensed for 2. Who decides that we only have 2?
It's tied to our liquor licenses that were permitted, so town regulations were adopted based on a formula based on population. So liquor licenses allowed to the town are based on population, set by a complicated formula in the Mass General laws, and the town adopted similar regulations for cannabis licensing.
And that's why
Through the
other
zoning
communities
bylaw.
have
Yeah,
many more, but it's tied to population.
correct.
Okay. Yeah, I think that this is very straightforward.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Select Person Cohen.
Well, in August 2023, we put this policy together. We talked to our legal representation, and they went to other towns and, gave us what was an acceptable, at the time, legal, it was legal at that time. And of course, what usually happens with the state, things change. People change within those particular organizations, and then they come back to us and say, you're not meeting, the spirit of the law. So it looks like we have to change this, which I'm okay with. I mean, I think what we did was the spirit of the law at the time, but obviously they don't agree. But I do have one particular question. So does this just relate to recreational marijuana, or is it all marijuana facilities in town? Because we have multiple marijuana facilities in town.
My understanding is that it's for any host community agreement that the town enters into.
So it'd be for all of them. And further to that point, this board has already granted an HCA to 2 social equity businesses, at least one of which is operating. So there would really be, even if one of your retail facilities closed tomorrow and you had to issue a new license, you've already met that one. Like I said, there's at least 2. One of them is already operating. The other's in the build-out phase. That's Butter Bloom and Butter Room.
One is operating already?
I believe Butter Room is. Not in Tyngsborough specifically. I think they're kind of elsewhere, but they have an HCA from you here.
Okay, thank you.
Select Person, Coughlin.
No, anything to prevent a fine. So, yeah.
Quote of the night.
Cut to the bottom line. All right, and I have no further questions. As you said, this is fairly straightforward. It's just being in compliance with the general laws. So, thank you. Select Person Eldridge.
You need is there any particular motion that you need?
Yeah.
Open it in Word.
Okay, hang on.
I just made sure it was updated with the recommended motion.
Oops, went past it. Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I move that the Select Board approve the updates to the cannabis social equity policy as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, that carries 5-0-0. Thank you. All right, before we get to the manager's report, we have one last item to go over, which is Planning Board request for comments, 25 Ingalls Road, Otis Woods.
Mr. Chair, the Planning Board is requesting comments on the attached applications for a special permit and definitive subdivision for a 7-lot open space residential subdivision to be known as Otis Woods. The project is located at 25 Ingalls Road, map 9, parcel block 16 and 15-2. The Planning Board held a public hearing on October 6, 2025. We typically recommend that the board not comment on matters before other boards to allow them the ability to do their diligence. Should the board choose not to comment on this motion, no motion is required.
Okay. We'll turn it over to Select Person Eldridge. Do you have any comments?
I have no comments, and I don't see any reason for us to have
No comment.
Select Person Cohen?
No comments.
Select Person Coughlin?
No comment.
And I have no comment, so I think we are all set. Wow, we've been building up to this moment all night, Colin.
Thank goodness.
The town manager's report.
You got it, Mr. Chair. Earlier today, we were notified that there would be a special election to fill the state Senate seat vacated with the passing of Senator Ed Kennedy on March 3rd, 2026. A primary will take place on February 3rd. Obviously, we didn't incorporate these dates into the school calendar, so our town clerk, Jessica Brunel, and I will work with the school department to make sure that we're able to manage to fit these elections in, and we'll have more information about the deadline to pull papers and all of that on the website at some point this week. As this board is aware, I'm happy to share that we've created a tracking sheet for the Select Board's fiscal year 26 goals. Residents can find a link to the tracker by visiting the Select Board's page or the Town Manager's page on tyngsboroughma.gov. It comes directly from the board's adopted goals and is broken into quarters so that the board and the community can see when we expect to focus on each individual goal. Last week, we were notified by the Executive Office of Veteran Affairs that they had approved our request to create a regional veterans district with the town of Dracut. Over the summer, the Select Board authorized the submission of a district application. As I shared at that time, we've been providing VSO services for Dracut for several months now and 3 or 4 times before that. The next steps will be for us to finalize an intermunicipal agreement with Dracut, which will outline the specifics and come to this board for approval first. At a high level, though, Tyngsborough will serve as the lead community. We'll operate largely out of Town Hall here in Tyngsborough with minimal office hours in Dracut. We'll split the cost of all of the salaries as well as the supplies. There's very few supplies that you need. For Tyngsborough, this will be a budget neutral change, but will provide added support for our operations here, as well as continuity for both communities. Our VSO, Chris Derry, has been leading the work to make this happen, so I appreciate his effort. On a similar front, I had previously shared that the town of Dunstable had reached out to us about potentially providing ambulance coverage for them. Chief Russell and I have met with their town administrator and their fire chief to review their call data and talk about what might work and what might not. They do an average of 3 transports per week, which is certainly far less than what we're doing here in Tyngsborough. However, from the outset, Chief Russell, I apologize, was clear that in order to make it work without impacting response times in Tyngsborough, we would need to have a 5th firefighter on each shift. Currently, our budget provides a 5th firefighter just during the day. As a part of these discussions, Dunstable has agreed that should we enter into some sort of an agreement, they would bear the full cost of that 5th firefighter, and so they have a town meeting scheduled in November where they'll ask for the funding. Their Select Board and Finance Committee is expected to meet this week to talk about how serious they are on it. In the meantime, Chief Russell and I will be meeting with the Firefighters Union and the Dispatch Union to impact bargain to discuss more in detail. I've had very informal conversations with the Firefighters Union, and I know that they feel comfortable that they can provide this service. In any case, before we advance to negotiating an IMA, we'll invite Chief Russell in to talk to the board to answer any questions and make sure that we're all on the same page. I wanted to take a minute to acknowledge the great work that's being done in our town clerk's office by Town Clerk Jessica Brunel and Assistant Town Clerk Carol Saulnier. Late last week, I was sent a screenshot of a post online. I always cringe because generally they're complaints. But it was complimenting the experience that a resident had with the clerk's office. I know that all of you know this, but since Jessica's election last year, her and Carol have been working incredibly hard to implement efficiencies in the office. They've increased resident involvement in the elections process, and they're working to, very importantly, clean up a lot of old, mismatched cemetery records, working closely with our Department of Public Works. People in this building, residents that I talk to in the building, have great things to say about their experience in the clerk's office. And I don't often get to share the very positive things, so I just wanted to give them a shout out because I think we're seeing the hard work that they're putting into streamlining things down there, and it's certainly having a positive impact for not just us, but also for residents. From a grant perspective, I'm happy to share that as we start Q2, town staff have already been awarded over $725,000 in grants. Those represent grants from state and federal agencies, some as large as $400,000, some as small as just $2,000 or $3,000. Those grants include grants for our regional public health program, traffic safety, capital upgrades on school buildings secured by Senator Kennedy, and so much more. This week, we'll conduct final interviews for police officer candidates. The hiring process will replace Officer Brian Carter, who left the department to move down south. I don't mean South Shore, I mean Louisiana. We interviewed 15 candidates, and the final round this week has 3 finalists, 2 of whom are already certified police officers in Massachusetts, and 1 of whom has a military background. in any of those cases, Tyngsborough will be certainly well-served. And while we used to get a lot more applications, like pre-2018, I think this round we got the most that we've ever seen. So I think it's a reflection of people's desire to work here, but also the good work that the chief is doing in the police department. Just a couple reminders, the health department will host a vaccine clinic here at Town Hall tomorrow from 11 to 2. Residents should pre-register by visiting tyngsboroughma.gov or by calling the health department at 978-649-2300 extension 118. The Sustainability Committee, the Tyngsborough Public Library, and the Tyngsborough Dunstable Rotary will host a repair cafe on Saturday, October 25th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Beehive at 2 Bridgeview Circle. Volunteers will help you repair electronics, clothing, jewelry, bicycles, lamps, sewing machines, and much more. As is customary, trick-or-treat in Tyngsborough will take place on Halloween, which this year is Friday, October 31st. That's from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Generally, we do it whether it's raining or not. And the police department will put out a community advisory, as they always do, with important safety reminders for both trick-or-treaters and also motorists. Zero Waste Day will take place on November 1st from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the elementary school. A reminder that Town Hall and the Tyngsborough Public Library will open late on November 19th to accommodate our annual all-staff training. Town Hall will open at 11 and the library will open at 11:30. And then finally, just a continuing reminder that on February 21st from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., the library will host the Oral History Day, focusing on collecting oral histories related to the Winslow School. This is a project that was funded by community preservation funds at a prior town meeting.
I'm excited to announce that in the past 2 weeks, we were able to afford both 2025 road improvement project, Phase 1 and Phase 2. Some work has already began on those projects and will continue through the fall as the weather cooperates, with both projects pausing for the winter and resuming in the spring, with expected completions by early summer 2026. Today, through the town manager's office, the Conservation Commission published a request for proposal seeking a qualified environmental consulting firm to provide peer review services to the commission. Bid documents are available on the town website and are due back by Wednesday, November 12th at 10 a.m. At the Commission on Disability meeting earlier this month, Chief Woods announced some website updates to the police department, showcasing some fantastic programs, and I just wanted to give that website update a little bit of attention that it deserves. Some of those programs include the car seat safety program, where you can have your car seat inspected for free, or potentially even qualify for a free car seat through the department through a grant that they received. They also have the Safe Watch program, which is a voluntary initiative to safeguard residents who may be at risk of wandering, as well as the Blue Envelope program, designed to foster safer interactions with the police department, especially at traffic stops for neurodiverse drivers. There are quite a few more programs that can be helpful to all members of the community, and I would encourage anybody interested to check out their updated programs page of tyngsboroughpd.com. Thank you.
Any questions? Select Person Eldridge.
No questions. Comprehensive as always.
Yes. Select Person Gilfus.
I think all of those updates were really lovely, and I'm grateful for the positive feedback and sharing good news from the police department. I do wonder, could we have the chief come in at some point and talk more about those programs? Because I haven't heard of 2 of the 3 of those, and so I'd love to hear more and be able to share more of that with the community.
He did a really great presentation at our Commission on Disability meeting.
Oh, awesome.
Earlier this month, so that is on the website, but I think you're right.
Perfect. Yeah, no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Select Person Cohen.
No questions. Great job.
Select Person Coughlin.
No questions.
And I have no questions. Thank you, Colin and Sean. Great job. Well, I think that brings us to Select Board reports.
I only have 4 or 5. No, I have nothing. I have nothing this evening.
Select Person Gilfus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to wish everyone a happy Diwali, which is the celebration of light and joy and renewal and the new year. And Select Person Coughlin and I had the opportunity to attend the recent Shila Puja at the BAPS Hindu temple that's being built in town. And for those that are unfamiliar, the Shila Puja is a sacred ceremony marking the spiritual beginning of a temple's construction. The word Shila means stone, and puja means worship or celebration. And so during the ceremony, foundation stones were blessed, and we had the opportunity to participate in that, and we each blessed a brick. And it was just such a beautiful, wonderful thing to be a part of. And really, making sure that the temple is built on both the physical and spiritual strength and the blessings of our community. And so for us to be able to be invited as community leaders, to be sort of the representing the town in our capacity to do that was really, really special. And just the whole event was really meaningful. Not only is it a religious ritual, which is obviously part of it, but it was just a beautiful moment for the community to come together. There were hundreds of people that were there when we were there, and certainly it continued for many hours afterwards. It marks an important milestone for the BAPS community and for our town, and it was really, really lovely. And just extending my warmest well wishes to the community, to the construction workers, to the teams that will be working on the new mandir, that's the new temple. It's going to take several more years for it to be built, but they're hoping that in phases they'll be able to start entering and be able to welcome the community. And so I hope that the project moves forward smoothly and safely and continues to bring people together in that spirit of light and harmony. And they are currently worshiping in Lowell and have invited us all to join them for their Diwali celebrations, which will be on Thursday? 23rd, I think, Thursday is when they celebrate. Yeah, it's all this week, but I think they're having a sort of an open house on Thursday.
Thank you. Thank you for those lovely words.
It was wonderful.
Thank you. Select Person Cohen.
Thank you. I'd like to congratulate everybody on the Fire Station Building Committee. This is an important project. As we move forward with this discussion about a fire station, our focus will be providing residents with a clear, factual information and meaningful opportunities for input. We're going to be looking for a lot of input from the residents. These are complex decisions that affect our taxes, public safety, and long-term character of our community. This is your community, everybody. Please stay engaged. This is an important decision for us to make. Ask questions and help shape the path ahead. One community working together works the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Select Person Coughlin.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Jackie said, the celebration, and that's really what it was, last Saturday was absolutely amazing. I wasn't sure what to expect, but man, what a welcoming crew, and they were very respectful and had deference. And it was just amazing. You can just tell how wonderful and spiritual the people are. They were expecting 1,500 people, and they did a really great job with the parking and then the shuttles and everything. And I got a little gift bag, which I wasn't sure what to do, but it was beautiful. I have it on my shelf. It's a statue, and it was wonderful. But anyways, and then the architectural depiction of what the building is going to look like, absolutely gorgeous. And so they've modeled it after a few communities. I think the closest one on the East Coast is in Tampa. And so it was a lovely day, and I really enjoyed it. So
Thank you. And I would just say, I wish everybody a happy and safe Halloween. By the time we meet again next time, Halloween will be by us. It always amazes me how popular Halloween has become as far as decorations, parties, and whatnot. But have a safe Halloween for all the people in town, particularly the children. That's all I have. Mr. Eldridge, you know what comes next.
Mr. Chair, I move that we go into executive session under Exemption 3 to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Tyngsborough Highway Union, SEIU Local 888.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do a roll call vote. Select Person Coughlin.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
And I am also in favor. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Thank